So thank you very much. I've shared the material online now. So the topic is tax practice in Nigeria. Are we all there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are looking at the tax practitioner in Nigeria. What is meaning of tax practitioners? Tax practitioner, based on my write-up, they are independent firm licensed to provide tax-related services to their clients. Why tax administration refers as revenue agency with the mandate to assess, collect, and account for tax on behalf of government. So the topic centered on tax practice and tax administration in Nigeria, the role of tax practitioner and tax administration in Nigeria. So let's look at the current role of tax practicing firm. If you own a you are a tax practitioner, you are a tax expert. What are your role? If you have a tax firm, what are your role? Number one, the role of tax practice firm. Number one, preparation of tax records. Preparation of tax record. You can complete this by saying preparation of tax record for clients. Preparation of tax record for clients is one of the roles. Preparation of tax record for clients is one of the roles. Another role of tax practitioner or tax practice firm, computation of end of year tax liability. They help their client to compute what? End of year tax liability. A big company like Dangote, Chevron, Shell, Flour Mill, they will have a tax practitioner. They will have a tax advisory, tax advisor. They will have a tax consultant. This tax consultant, if the external auditor finish preparing the audited account, it is the tax consultant from the audited account that will help them to prepare the tax liability. Do we understand? Do we understand? Do we understand? Hello,
Yes,
class?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Number three role of a tax practitioner or tax practice firm, filing of tax return. Filing of tax return. They help clients to file tax return. Filing of tax return can be monthly or annually. Some of the tax practitioners, tax consultants, they help some of their clients to file monthly VAT return. Why at the end of the year, company income tax return, they help their clients to file it. Personal income tax return, they help their clients to file it monthly. They also help them to file it annually. It's another role. Another role of tax practice firm, advise clients on tax matters. They advise their clients on tax matter. What are the tax matter? How can clients take advantage of tax avoidance? They also help their clients they advise them on tax planning that their clients can invest on. Do you understand? They advise them on that. Another role of tax practice firm is compliance with tax legislation. They help their clients to ensure that each of the companies that they render tax service for, they are providing service for, they comply with tax law, tax legislation. They ensure that all their clients comply with personal income tax law, company income tax law, petroleum profit tax law, value-added tax law, and so on. Resolution of tax disputes. If the client has a tax dispute with the tax authority, they are the ones that will provide resolutions to it. Take, for instance, if the tax authority carry out tax audits for one of their clients, they give them liability. At the end of the day, it is the tax consultant that will help them to resolve the liability. It is the tax consultant that will help them to resolve the liability. Do we understand? So that is resolution of tax dispute. So another role of tax practice firm. Another role of tax practice firm. Management of tax audit and investigation. Management of what? Tax audit and investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an advanced task. I mentioned 7 rows. Please, let's know this 7 rows very well. Do you understand? Let's know this 7 rows very well. In an exam, they will not ask, what are the role of tax practice firm? They will not ask like that. They will give you a scenario question, a case study, a company that is experiencing a problem, that face a problem. They will now say, you are a tax consultant. The company want to engage you. Do you understand? But the managing director is not convinced about your duties, the service that you render. They will now say, write a letter to the company by telling them what you are going to offer to them. What service are you going to render to them? If they engage you as a tax consultant, do you understand? Are you with me? Do you understand?
No, sir. Sir, please, can you explain this number 7 again? The management of tax audit and investigation.
If a company has tax audit, they conduct tax audit on the company, or they do tax investigation on the company. Who is going to help them resolve it? Is the tax consultant that will help them resolve it. Is the tax consultant. Management of tax audit and investigation. When you have a tax audit report as a big company, who are you going to refer the report to? Is your tax consultant, because your tax consultant will know more than you. Tax consultant that is their job, that is their field. They will know more than in-house accountant. They will know more on tax, on the financial manager of your company, they will know more on tax than your CFO. So anything that have to do with tax audit, if they want to respond to tax audit letter, FRS, they come to conduct tax audit for your company. They now give you a liability. You want to respond to the letter. You're a big company. You don't need to respond direct. If you give the letter, the liability given to you, you give it to your tax consultant. It's your tax consultant that will help you to respond to some of the query raised. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir, it's clear now. Thank you, sir.
So on this road, if I can want to set question on this road, they will not set it direct that explain the role of tax consultant or list out the role of tax practitioner. No, they will give you a scenario case, a case study. XYZ company, they have issue with tax authority. For over the year, they don't have a tax consultant. And the CFO now advised the company that for this issue, they need to get a tax consultant too. But the managing director or the board of directors, they are not convinced why they will engage the service of a tax consultant. Do you understand? They will now say, you as a tax consultant, advise or write a letter to the company to tell them why they will need the service of tax consultant. They want you to state the role that if they engage you as a tax consultant, what are you going to be doing for them? Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So that is that. The next heading that we should go, element of tax practice. Element of what? Tax practice. This tax practice that we are practicing, what are the elements? What are the elements? There are 4 elements of tax practice. As a tax practitioner, your job is simply divided into 4. Number 1 element of tax practice is tax compliance. Tax what? Compliance. To ensure that your clients comply with what? Tax law. Under the tax compliance, we have gathering of relevant tax information, filing of tax return, representing clients during tax audit and investigation, evaluating and classifying information. Do you understand? What we are saying in essence is this role of tax practitioner, we can divide it into 4 elements. This role of tax practitioner I just mentioned, we can divide it into how many elements? 4 elements. One of the elements is tax compliance. Under the tax compliance, these are the following roles that you need to play as a tax practitioner, as a tax consultant. You need to gather relevant tax information. You need to evaluate and classify information. You need to file necessary tax return. You need to represent clients during tax audit and what? Investigation. Another role is tax planning and advisory. You need to do tax planning and provide advisory to your clients. So what do we have under tax planning and advisory? Arranging client transactions to minimize tax liability. I want to ask a question. Can you name 5 tax planning checklists? Who can name 5 tax planning checklists? Tax planning checklist. Who can name it?
Bank statement, sir.
Okay. I can hear you.
Bank statement, sir.
Tax planning checklist. Tax planning checklist. Bank statement is not stated there.
Sir, list of approved taxes and levies.
It's not list. Yes, list of approved tax and levy. Correct.
Timing of fixed assets. Disposal.
Acquisition and disposal. Okay. Continue.
Payee monthly remission.
Yes.
VAT returns and
Yes.
remittance. National Housing Fund.
Remittance of National Housing Fund.
Yeah.
You can call it timely remittance of National Housing Fund. Timely remittance of pension. Abi?
Okay. Yes, sir. Withholding tax properly deducted.
Proper deduction of withholding tax. On what? On invoice. Do you
Okay.
understand? I
Yeah.
mentioned that last week in our last lecture. Can you remember? Abby? Is in our last lecture. Please, let's try to be revising our notes. Do we understand? Another thing we can do for us to understand very well, if I were you, all this material I'm sending to you, if you have the time, you can try to jot them, have your own class notes. Try to be jotting them in your notes. Do you understand? What you write in your notes is more easy and recognized than what you are just filing the material. Because you understand, as we finish a topic, take a time, try to write the note they gave you, try to jot it, summarize it, put it in your note. Have a task note. Do it as if you are doing a physical class. Do you understand? In my physical lecture, I don't normally send material to my students. I will ensure that I discuss first, they write, they jot. After the class is when I send the material, so that they can understand, so that they can have a note. Do you understand? Last lecture, we discussed task planning, task audit, and investigation. And we mentioned task planning checklist. Please, let's take note of that. So, task planning and advisory. What is task planning and advisory? Arrangement of client transaction to optimize or minimize task liability. Another thing under task planning and advisory, planning for open transaction. Also planning for closed transaction. So number 2 element of task practice is task planning and advisory. Number 3 element, task litigation. Task what? Litigation. As a task practitioner, as a task consultant, you will be providing task litigation. You will be settling disputes between task authority and what? And taxpayer. You are middleman. Taxpayer, they are the one that engage your service. So you ensure that when there is a dispute between them, you settle it in accordance with the law. You also appeal on behalf of your clients. You help your client to save tax costs by appealing on behalf of your client. You can also serve as a witness in the court for your clients. That is tax litigation. The last element of tax practice is tax research and intelligence. Tax research and what? Intelligence. You conduct research on tasks. Do you understand? You recommend a solution to task problem. Do you understand? Take, for instance, presently, we have a committee called Tax Reform Committee set up by federal government to look at all the tax law you have in Nigeria, so that there is a need, if there is a need for review on those tax law, they can review it. As I'm talking to you presently, those committee, they are still working. The committee is headed by one of the former partner in PwC. His name is Taiwo Oyedele. I don't know whether you have heard of that name. He's an expert. He's a tax consultant. He's very good in tax. So he's the chairman of Tax Reform Committee. If you, as a tax practitioner, you have anything that you think there is a way we can improve in tax, you can recommend it to the committee. You can recommend it to the committee. So tax research and intelligence is by identifying a tax problem and provide solution to it. Provide solution to tax problem. Under tax research and intelligence, you identify that this problem, maybe the way we compute our company income tax is not the best way. There is something missing. You can recommend and provide the best way of computing our company income tax. And if the tax committee see that, this your recommendation, this your observation is very important, they will adopt it. Do we understand? They will adopt it. So there are 4 elements of tax practice. There are 4 elements of tax practice: tax compliance, tax planning, and tax research and intelligence. We also have tax litigation. So those are the 4 elements of tax practice. Now, the next heading now is tax practitioner, tax consultant. What are the reasons why they will make use of technology? Why they will leverage on information technology? Do you understand? Why tax practitioner? We also need to know more on IT. Why does tax practitioner will have knowledge on IT, information technology? Why? You as a tax practitioner, as a tax consultant, why do you need to know more on Excel, which is one of the accounting package? Why do you need to know more on Sage? Why do you need to know more on which other one? Tally. Why do you need to leverage on technology? Why? Because if you know more on technology, you will win more clients. You will have more clients. Because clients this time around, tax payer this time around, they would like to engage tax practice firm that have technology knowledge. Because most of the operation of the clients is online, is done by technology. Most of the clients, they are using accounting software. Abi, you as a tax practitioner, you want to make use of that account and you want to make use of their financial statement to render tax service to them. If you don't understand their accounting software, how do you render tax practice to them? So you win more clients if you have more knowledge of IT as a tax practitioner. Retaining more clients. You retain your clients. You will not lose clients. Because your service will be improved by having IT knowledge. You have improved service by having what? IT knowledge. Another one, cross-selling service. You can, apart from, if you have IT knowledge as a tax practitioner, you may not render only tax practice, tax advisory again. You'll be rendering, you can diversify to render some other service like IT, accounting software. You can be rendering accounting, you can be helping your client to install accounting software. You cross-selling service, you diverse your service. Another reason why you need to leverage on accounting software, on the technology, adding great value by having technology, by having knowledge of technology, is going to add value to your job. It is going to make your job be easy. Take for instance now, you want to compute adjusted profit. Are you now going to be writing it in paper? You are going to make use of software, Excel, to compute the adjusted profit for your client. You want to compute capital allowance for your client. Are you now going to be working it in paper? No. You are going to make use of Excel to use it to compute capital allowance. It will add greater value to you. Again, it's going to save your time. It's going to save your time. The time that you'll be writing, carrying all this working paper, doing this, it will save your time. Also save your cost. IT will save your cost in the long run. The amount that you are going to incur as a tax practitioner when you are rendering service to your client will be reduced, will be less than doing paperwork. Because the cost of printing nowadays is very expensive. Stationery is very expensive. So those are the value you get if a tax practitioner leverage on IT. It's also going to improve your tax audit quality. So, ladies and gentlemen, out of these points, let's note at least 7 points. 7 points. 7 points. If I can want to ask a question in this area, they may not ask direct question. They will also give you a scenario, just a page scenario case. ITO has been so, this and this. So, one tax practice firm, they are not engaged in IT. The way they are doing their tax practice manually, this and this. At the end of the day, they will say, okay, advise them why they will need to leverage on IT, information technology, or tell them what are the benefits that they will gain if they convert their system, the tax practice system, from manual to IT. You tell them, they will win more clients, they will retain more clients. It will save their time, it will save their costs, it will add value to them, it will improve their working paper, tax audit quality. You tell them the service that they're going to gain. It increases their skill. It provides new skills to them. They will not ask you direct question. It's a case study question. But when they ask you, you will know that, these people are going to the area of IT. What do I understand of this ITO? What are the benefits of IT to people practicing tax? You need to list it. You list. The question that they will ask you, they will give you a scenario. That scenario can be a page scenario. But at the end of the day, they want you to state the benefit of IT to tax practitioner. Hope we understand my illustration. Do we understand?
So I have a question.
Okay.
So, this tax audit, is it being carried out by the tax authority or
Yes,
the tax
it's tax authority that
practitioner?
carry out tax audits. Last week, are you not in the class last week?
I was in class.
Last lecture. Tax audit, who carry out tax audits? It's tax authority now. And there are 2 types of tax audits. Who can mention the 2 types of tax audits we have? Somebody should mention the 2 types of tax audits so that I know that what I've been discussing.
Desk audit and field audit.
Oh, yeah, differentiate them. What are the difference between two of them?
Okay, I think the next audit is the one that they conduct the office in their office, right? Why the field audit, they have to visit the organization to check their books and records.
Okay. So please, that is good. You have differentiated them. Please, like I said, let's be taking note of what we are discussing. Our task, advanced task, the exam of advanced task is 50-50. It can be 50-50 or 60-40. There is more written theory. Nowadays, especially male diets, ICANN on advanced task, they normally focus more on theory. Apart from petroleum profit tax, which they will set question, capital gain tax, they will set question, and company income tax. The others will be on theories. So if we get the theory very well, we are good to go. Please, what we discussed, our last lecture, let's pay more attention to it. Let's go and revise our last lecture. It's not about having more lecture. Let's revise. Let's jot notes. Online class is very good. You will be seeing the material. You have a lot of material. But we are all working. We are office workers. We may not have time to be going through the material one by one. Then if you have a class notes, after you finish the lecture, maybe the next day, when you are less busy, go back to that material that the lecturer sent to you. Try to jot. Try to list the key points. Write a note. Do you understand? When you get your own notes, if the exam is now very close, is the note you will be revising, not all the material. Because we have a lot of material. We may not have time to be going through them. And once we have our notes, our notes is just like our Bible and Quran. We'll be going through our notes every day. So that's my last lecture. Try to go and summarize it in your notes. Have a class note. It's not all the material. I'll get this material. You may not have time to revise. So please try to jot it. So the next area that we are moving to now is the area of possible litigation and ethical issues arising from task work. Possible litigation and ethical issue arising from task work. When you are a task consultant, what are those ethical issues or laws, litigation that can look at those things that if you go and do, possible legal and ethical issues arising from task work. Possible legal and ethical issues arising from task work. What are the ethical issues? As an accountant, you have a code of ethics, code of conduct of an accountant. As we have it in accounting, we also have it in tax too. As a tax practitioner, you need to be following some ethical issues. Number one of them is technical competence. Technical competence. As a tax practitioner, you must have up-to-date knowledge in tax. You must be updating your knowledge on recent changes in tax. You must, as it is right now, as a good tax practitioner, you must know the latest finance act that we have. What is the latest finance act we have now? Who can tell me?
(2023).
Finance Act 2023. What are the major changes that Finance Act 2023 brought to tax in Nigeria? What are those major changes? If you want to talk about Finance Act, you talk about them based on type of tax. You look at personal income tax. You tell us, what does Finance Act say on personal income tax? You look at company income tax. What does Finance Act say on company income tax? You look at education tax. What does Finance Act say on education tax? You look at capital gain tax. What does Finance Act say on capital gain tax? Example, like education tax. Finance Act increased the rate of education tax from what to what? Finance Act 2023. It has increased the rate of education tax. Presently, what is the rate of education tax based on Finance Act 2023? (3%). 3%. Before, education tax is 2.5% of adjusted profit. But now, Finance Act has increased it to what? 3%. Under capital gain tax, Finance Act now includes cryptocurrency as part of the assets that will be subjected to capital gain tax. Cryptocurrency and digital transaction has now been included as part of the asset that will be subjected to what? Capital gain tax. So if I were you, after the class, let's go and download Finance Act 2023. I may even send it to your group chat so that you know the summary of Finance Act 2023. So going back to our class, technical competence means as a tax practitioner, you need to have updated knowledge on recent changes in tax. Unlike like auditors too. If there's a updated knowledge on IFRS, IAS, auditor need to have updated knowledge on it. We in tax too. You need to have updated knowledge on recent changes in tax. Accounting is very broad. You can't be good in every area. It's either you specialize in audit or you specialize in treasury and financial management, or you specialize in tax. Like me, I was in audit. I've worked in audit for like 7 years until I now say, okay, let me divert to tax. And for over 6 years now, more than 6 years, I've been working as a tax practitioner. I know that is my own area. That is the only area that I will be very good, rather than saying, I'm doing audit, I'm doing tax, I'm doing this. So technical competence, you need to have updated knowledge. One of the ethical issues, another ethical issue is reasonable inquiry. Reasonable inquiry. As a tax practitioner, you need to ask information. Ask for information from your clients. information that will help you for your work when you are doing your task work. Ask for documents. Don't keep silent. Ask, make inquiry. Please give me this document. Oh. I will need this document. Please give me schedule of withholding tax. Oh. Please give me your summary of VAT payment. Oh. You ask. Another ethical issue is continue to ask. In this one, we said you need to continue to ask for your client in circumstances where incorrect or misleading information is not corrected by the client. Supervision of tax audits is one of the ethical issues too. You need to be supervising when they are doing tax audit for your client. You need to be there to supervise. So those are the ethical issues that tax practitioners must have. So the ethical issue, conflict of interest is one of the ethical issues. Conflict of interest. You must not have a personal gain. This conflict of interest is saying that you must not go and parley with tax authority and go and be disclosing your taxpayer information to the tax authority, or go and be showing them the weakness of your clients. Somebody that is paying your fee, you are now go against his interest. That is conflict of interest. So those ethical issues too is an important area. And we need to take note. They are very important. Significance of legal and ethical issue in preparation of return. This one is talking about consequence. What are the consequences if you don't follow legal and ethical issue while you are rendering service to your clients, while you are rendering tax service to your client? What are the consequences if you don't follow ethical issue? If you don't follow the law? Imposition of fine. You may be fined. Suspension from membership of the institute. If I can now discover that you are a member, you are the member, you now engage in some tax practice that is unethical tax practice. Maybe you help your clients to do tax evasion. You help them to understate their income so that they will pay lower tax. Or you advise your client, and my client, don't be repeating VAT. Or you will discover that you parley with your client, with the tax authority, so that clients can pay the tax authority PR. At the end of the day, the client now discover that you and the tax authority are working together. You share among the PR. You didn't do your job well. You may be suspension from the member of institute for some time. If the case is so critical, you may be expulsion from the member of institute. Sometimes they may withdraw your certificate. They may withdraw the tax consultant certificate or the license to practice. So sometimes you may pay some costs. So those are the consequences for not following ethical issue in tax practice. Those are the consequences for not following ethical issue in tax practice. benefit of running a tax practice, a professional tax practice. You as an accountant, if you want to own a professional tax practice, what benefit do you derive? What are the benefits do you derive? Financial benefit, you have more money because you'll be charging fee. You'll be charging fee to your client. You have more money. It's one of the benefits. You have more clients. You create your own vision. It's also one of the benefits that I'm no more working as an accountant in company. I'm now practicing my own. You have time for yourself. You improve your knowledge. What are the risks for running? What are the risks of running a professional tax practice firm? What risk? What risk of running a professional tax practice firm? Lack of experts. One of the risks is if you are not very good, you are not having enough knowledge in tax, lack of experts, you may lose more clients. Lack of attention to detail. If you don't pay attention to detail, you may commit more error. Lack of documentation. If you don't keep proper documentation, they may sanction your clients. So, those are the risks that's being committed if you own your tax practice. For the sake of time, let's talk about tax administration. Tax administrator. Who is a tax administrator? They are the tax authority. Tax administrators are public authority empowered to assess and collect. Empowered to assess, collect, and account for tax for recognized jurisdiction. All those tax authority, they are what? Tax administrator. LRI, people working in LRS, they are tax administrator. People working in FRS, they are tax administrator. What role? What are the role of tax administrator? Tax administrator, what are their role? Registration and education of taxpayer. They are the ones that register taxpayer. They register them. They issue TIN number to them. They also give education to taxpayer. They educate them on new tax law. Do we understand? Do we understand? They educate them on new tax law. So, number one role of a tax practitioner, tax administrator, is registration and education of taxpayer. Number two role, receiving tax return filed by taxpayer. When the taxpayer files tax return, who is going to receive it? The tax administrator, which is the tax authority. Conducting routine tax audit, who carry out tax audit, is the tax administrator. Managing and enforcement of debt recovery. Tax debt recovery. If a company is not paying tax or they are owing a tax, who is going to enforce it? Who is going to seal up a company? is tax administrator. Assessing taxpayer. Who is going to assess the taxpayer that this is how much you are going to pay? Is tax administrator. In tax office, there is an assessment department. Their own is to assess how much you're supposed to pay. Advising on review of tax legislation. Who is going to advise government that this tax law that we are using is already old? We need a new tax law. Is tax administrator. So if I were you, I will know the role of tax practitioner. I will also know the role of tax administrator. This area, it has been long. I can't set question in this area. So based on my review of past question, so I'm assessing that either this diet or next diet question will come from this particular topic we are discussing. So know the role of tax administrator, know the role of tax practitioner. They are very key. Let's go for the sake of time. Some of the new technologies used in tax industry. We are talking of IT, tax practitioner. Why does tax practitioner need IT technology? So what are those technologies that will be needed by tax practitioner? What are those technologies that will be needed by tax administrators? We want to mention them. And I think last 3 diet question come out from this area. Some of the technology used in tax industry. We are talking of technology. What are those technologies? Information technology used either by tax administrator or tax practitioners. Number 1, cloud computing. Number 1, cloud computing technology. Number 1 is what? Cloud computing technology. Cloud computing. Tax authority or tax administrator can use cloud computing to store customer taxpayer database online. All those tax returns that we are doing all this year, all the tax returns we have been doing, they can save it in cloud. If they need it, they'll just go to cloud and take it. Assuming we are doing paper tax return now, assuming our return, our tax return for company income tax return, for value-added tax return is done through what? Which technology do we use to do tax return now for FRS? You can mention.
Tax Promax.
Tax Promax. Thank you very much. Tax Promax. Tax Promax is a software technology. Abi? It's IT now. Abi? Now, we have been using Tax Promax in the last 3 years. If you want to look at, if you want to go and check your 2021 company income tax return that you have done through Tax Promax, you can go and you can see it because it's already saved Through what? Cloud. Cloud computing means we store our information, we save our information online. There is an organization that helps us to save our data so that our data will not be corrupted or lost. We pay every year. So tax practitioners too, or tax authority, or tax administrator, they need cloud for saving of tax return that client file, that taxpayer file, you tax authority or tax administrator. You are going to all the tax return that your taxpayer is filing, you need to be saving it in cloud. Tax payment, all the payment that your taxpayer is paying have to be saved in cloud too. Cloud can also be used for tax planning and forecasting. So if they ask you what are the technology used by tax administrator or tax practitioner, number one is what? Cloud computing. And you need to tell them what they will use cloud computing for. You need to tell them what they will use cloud computing for. They can use it for automated tax computation. They can use it for tax return and preparation planning, tax return preparation and filing. They can use it for tax planning and forecasting. They can also use it for tax payments. So cloud computing is very important. Another technology that can be used by tax practitioner or tax administrator is artificial intelligence or robotic. Artificial intelligence or robotic. Artificial intelligence or robotic. How can tax authority use artificial intelligence? When you go to the website of FRS, there are some questions that, simple questions that if you want to ask under inquiry, if you just type the question, they will give you a response back. That response being given to you back is artificial intelligence. They have already said it that if a client asks, what is the rate of value-added tax? If you type under FRS, under the inquiry, if you go to the website of FRS, there's a place that you fill a form. They say, do you want to make inquiry? Somebody will answer you, what is your name? What do you want? All these things, the artificial intelligence. If you say, I want to know the rate of VAT, it will answer you immediately. I want to know the time for filing company income tax. They will give you a response immediately. It's already programmed through machine. That machine is called artificial intelligence and robotic. Are we making sense? Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another technologies that can be used for tax practice or tax administrator is blockchain technology. Blockchain technology. Block what? Chain technology. So blockchain is used to ensure free flow of data chain to ensure free communication. Process. In blockchain, if I want to pay tax, first of all, I will go to remitter. From remitter, if I generate my payment, remitter will signal FRS. From FRS, it will be updated in my tax promise. All these are blockchain. Free flow of data from one stage to another. Processing of payments. They are blockchain. Number one technology used by tax practitioner or tax administrator is cloud computing. Number two, artificial intelligence. Number three, blockchain technology. Why? Another one I want to mention, social media technology. Social media technology. Social media technology. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You understand? What can tax authority use Facebook for? What can tax authority use Twitter for? What can tax authority use LinkedIn for? What can tax authority use Instagram for? They can use all this social media technology to pass information or disseminate information, disseminate tax information to what? Taxpayer, especially the younger generation. Take for instance, if FRS has a Facebook, you will see many people that will be friends to FRS, Abi. They will be part of their follower, Abi. If FRS want to pass information, if they just put it in their Facebook, many people will read the information rather than go and publish it in the newspaper. How many people are reading newspaper? Do you understand? FRS has a Twitter as I'm talking to you. I normally follow FRS Twitter. If they want to pass information or reminder, they want to pass information about reminder of return, time for filing return to taxpayer, they pass it through Twitter. They have the Facebook too. They have Instagram, they have LinkedIn. If you are not on Facebook, you must be on Twitter, Abi. If you are not on Twitter, you must be on LinkedIn. If you are not on LinkedIn, you'll be on Instagram, so that they can be using it to pass information about the importance of tax. What do we need to do on tax? What are the recent changes in tax? People will get know of it than going to newspaper, manual. If they go to newspaper, they will pay, Abi. They will pay heavily. And the one on newspaper is just for maybe for about 2 days or 3 days. They will be paying. But the one of social media, they can still be repeating it day by day. It's going to save their cost. Social media technology is one of the technology used. You as a tax practitioner too, tax consultant, you can use Facebook to advertise your firm. You can use Twitter to advertise your firm to get more clients. You can pass it in Facebook. XYZ tax consultant. If you want to get a tax identification number, we render tax service. So we can help you to get your tax identification number. Take for instance, you now have like 2,000 followers. Some of them will come and approach you, or the time that maybe your filing of return has approached, you just pass information that please, so time of filing of return, if you have a company, so day to avoid sanction. Oh, we can help you to file return. Oh. You will see people that will patronize you as a tax practitioner. Social media will help you. So social media in Nigeria, we have misused it. It's not all about because maybe the word of that social, we are now using it in another way. It's not about posting picture, doing, you understand? You can use it, you can leverage on social media to add value for your business. Some people, they are making a lot of money. They are getting more clients through where? Facebook. Hope my explanation is clear.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So it's one of the technology used. We have another technology used, mobile app technology. Mobile app technologies too is used by tax administrators or tax practitioners. Mobile app technology. Like FRS, they have a mobile app that you can download on your phone. They can be using it to pass information. Tax Promas is a mobile app. So those are the technology used. Now, let's look at impact of new technology for tax practice and tax administration. What impact does all this technology we just mentioned is going to have? Number one impact, they will certify their customer very well. Tax administrator will certify taxpayer very well. Tax consultant will certify their client very well. It will improve compliance, voluntary compliance. Data error will be minimized. Low cost of compliance. So all these are impacts. Now, anything that have advantage also have disadvantage. What are the challenges of technology to tax practice? What challenges technology bring to tax practice and tax administrator? What challenges all this technology bring to tax practice and tax? Another example of this mobile app is mobile app, Google Meet. What do you call them? Zoom. Tax authority can have a Zoom meeting with taxpayer. Abi? They can meet through Google Meet. Tax authority, they can organize a training for their staff through Zoom or Google Meet. Abi? Likewise, too, tax consultant can do a meeting with their client through Zoom. Do we understand? They have the mobile app technology. So challenges of technology to tax practice and tax administration. What challenges technology will bring to tax practice and tax administration? Number one challenges is low computer literacy level. Most of the accountants, most of the tax practitioners or tax administration, they don't have their knowledge of IT literacy is very low. Their knowledge of IT is very low. Another one, poor internet technology. All this technology we are talking about, they make use of internet, Abi? Without internet, can you access technology? No. Poor internet technology. If the internet is very poor, it will affect the technology. Take for instance now, we are using Zoom. If the internet is very bad, it will be very difficult for us to communicate. Abi? We will not enjoy ourselves. Poor internet technology. Sometimes internet may be bad. It will affect this technology. They make use of internet. Sometimes internet may be bad. Another thing is possible of cyber threats. Possible of cyber threat. Most of the information that we are sharing through our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, this and this, if you go and share our client information or our client information, we save it through cloud. There are some hacker, Abi, that can hack information. Abi, they will hack information. They will get sensitive information about that client. Even the FRS too, they can hack their data. Do you understand? Another thing, high implementation cost. All this IT, the implementation cost is very expensive. For you to have a cloud, you'll be paying subscription. For you to do artificial intelligence, you need to engage an IT person that will help you install it. So it's very lack of technical know-how. So it's one of the challenges. Another challenge is data validation. How can we validate data? How can we know that this data is correct or wrong? How can we know that this data is correct or wrong? Data validation. So it's one of the technology. It's one of the challenges. So ladies and gentlemen, these are all what we need to know in tax practice and tax administration in Nigeria. So for the sake of time, let me summarize. In this topic, we talk about role of tax practitioner, which is tax consultant. We also talk about role of tax administrators. We talk about benefit of having tax practice firm. We talk about benefit that technology is going to bring to tax practice and tax administrator. We also talk about different technology used by tax administrator and tax practitioner for carrying out service. We also talk about challenges, and we talk about benefit of IT too. So please, let's try to revise them. Let's try and look at them one by one. Let's try and look at them. So if you have any one or two questions, let's ask. So this topic is an important area. Let's take note of it. Like I always say, let's have a class notes. So back to class if there's any question. Any question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So one of the tools, like you mentioned, though you didn't name it, right? But it's in the material, the data analysis technology. So I want to know, like, how
Yes.
does it apply to tax?
Data analytics technology.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask a question. Who can give me an example of data analytics technology?
Like Power BI. Like Power BI. Excel is also
Data
used for analysis.
Excel, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. They are using it to analyze what? Data. Is it not going to benefit? Does tax authorities, are they not using Excel to do tax audit? If tax authority want to write a letter, Say they will not use Microsoft Word. If they want to do a training, say they will not use PowerPoint. Tax consultant too make use of it. Data analytics, I failed to mention it. It's very important. It's one of the technology. Excel too is a technology. Excel is a technology. PowerPoint too. It's an IT. It's a tools of IT. They fall under data analytics. They make use of them to analyze the taxpayer data. So, any other question? Any other question? Any question again? So, in the absence of no question, we can call it a day today. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So, and if you have any question, you can try to send WhatsApp to me. I will attend to it. So by our next class, we'll be on calculation. By God's grace, we will do more on calculation. Our next two class will be based on calculations. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.